Hello there, and welcome to yet another edition of CTOX by BrandKnew. Given the advantages of our profession of being a journalist or an editor, we get to interact and meet up very up close and personal with thought leaders who, through their razor sharp focus, resilience, tenacity, has actually game changed. Okay, in fact, they come across as people who have a vision, who have a goal, and they're out to get there, irrespective of the kind of odds that might be stacked up against them. Today, we have the opportunity and the privilege to meet and talk and engage with Mr. Krishna Dhanak, Managing Director, Alpen Capital, in his full 14 form. Welcome to the show, Krishna.
Thank you.
Krishna, let's typically begin at the beginning. Tell us something really, really exciting that you can recall from your childhood, your growing up years. If you can recollect any of the inspiring moments that actually changed the game for you.
So I think I came here just to give you a bit of background of myself. I came here in '85. My parents moved here 84, 85, and then we moved as a family about a year later. So studied here initially, and those days schooling was very nascent, so to speak, in this market. So my father was very keen that I move out, get a boarding kind of experience, and get that kind of exposure. It was difficult in the initial years. But then he, in trying to sort of lure me towards that, just made me meet a person in the industry. And in one meeting, I thought, well, if this is the kind of product that you get out of going into an institution, like what he's saying, I might as well give it a shot. So that was very inspiring. Just meeting that person and his persona, the way he spoke, and just the way he sort of brought about his entire empire. So that was very inspiring for me. I looked up. I remember that quite a bit. My biggest inspiration has been my father. He's with me no more, but he's been a father friend and a guide to me forever. He's still around.
All right. Okay. Interesting. In fact, it's not surprising at all that a lot of our inspiration and childhood idols are our parents, either the father or the mother, or sometimes both. I mean, there is obviously it's a little difficult to say my father, so, because the weighing scale actually tilts, one way or the other. That's fascinating to know. Uh, uh, you're a chartered accountant by profession, if I'm not mistaken. Any particular trigger that actually led you to that line, and how's the journey been when it comes to your balance sheet of life?
So actually, it was my father also studied chartered accountancy. Unfortunately, he never qualified. So that was one of his regrets of life. And he would tell me, I don't care if you go to the market and sell onions and potatoes on a cart. Get your degree, you'll do a better job than everybody else. And to do anything else, we didn't have the financial means. So, in those days, getting an entry, the saying was, entry into the chartered accountancy is not very difficult. Getting out is very difficult. Right. Whereas entry into an MBA institute is very difficult, but getting out is not that difficult. Right. But due to sort of those kind of limitations, this was a natural choice. I enjoyed numbers, I enjoyed my commerce. It just happened very naturally. And didn't think so much about it in those days. Well, today's generation has a lot of options, and they think they have the opportunity to think as well. I think in those days we were a lot more focused on trying to get our livelihoods right, not understanding that livelihoods will follow. Just get your life right. So
yeah, that's well said. Absolutely.
So amidst all the high pressure of top lines and bottom lines, how do you maintain your calm?
I think the biggest factor has been, again, my father and parents. So to an extent, we the comedy in our family, or the saying goes that even if we speak philosophy. My grandparents, fortunately, have all been fairly spiritual. They've read a lot, they've experienced a lot themselves, passed on to my parents, especially my father. He used to kind of make me listen to a lot of Osho sermons, etc.
Way ahead of time.
Whilst he used to listen, and he said, you sit down at night, spend 15 minutes, just be with me, listen to something, see if you have any questions. Those days you would not understand what you're listening to, but in subconsciously, it stays in your mind. And as we were growing up, then there used to be a lot of Q&As between us, and that really helped. Still, without realizing the depth of what I was getting into, only until when he passed away, I think life just turned around. He just didn't get up from his sleep, so it was that sudden. And then a few years later, my sister actually, who's like a emotional twin of myself. Went through this inner engineering program, and she was, in 10, 15 days or a month, I saw her so very different. She said, why don't you go and try it? Till that time, I had not heard of this program or of Sadhguru or of the institution. I tried that, and that had a major impact, practicing what I learned. And then I think just awareness, because all that they're saying is just be aware. Many techniques, many tools, but as long as you're aware, you're fine.
So you've programmed yourself into being aware as a practice on a regular basis. So it's just subconsciously happening, and that's how you're maintaining your calm. Okay.
If you can say that I'm maintaining my calm, there are times, but
Yeah, that's human. That's fine.
No, आपका काम में काम लगता है ना. Right. So just talking about calm in both sense of the term, how will you define in one small line your leadership style?
I'm generally very relaxed. Just even in my leadership style, I mean, there's no leadership style. I've been in this company for 16 years.
Just yourself.
I'm just myself. Yes, over a period of time, I
But,
have.
but that is the toughest part of
Being yourself.
just being, right? I mean, even when you go there, whatever it is, being, because we've forgotten being. We're trying to be what we don't want to be, what we should not be, and
Yeah, that's true. So, of course, you maintain the decorum of a certain place and work, etc., what have you. But generally, our work is dealing with people. It's actually just dealing with people first. And we are a small boutique team. I've spent so many years here. So, like I was saying, having joined here for 16 years, and with that kind of experience, I think in life I've learned most what not to do than what to do vis-a-vis dealing with people. So that has really helped me. Whatever experience I went through in my life during my first phase of sort of internships or my first place of work, and second and third, with my own leaders or my own co-workers, those things stayed with me more than what to do right. So maybe I suppose I focus on what not to do, and everything else kind of gets taken care
Process of elimination.
yeah. Exactly. Elimination, what not to do.
What not
that is
to
a beautiful thing that says, the best movies are exceptional, not because of what you see, it's because of what you don't see.
Between the lines,
Yeah, between the-
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yes.
So do you have any wellness mantra or a specific routine that you follow to keep your lifestyle healthy? And it has been since ages, or it keeps changing as per time, place, need, and your health
I think it's been
status?
changing, but generally I've always been, having gone to the boarding school, that routines has stayed with me.
Routine is there in
Discipline
your life.
and focusing on sports, physical activity, and then also, this kind of awareness on account of doing the kriyas that were taught to us at Sadhguru's foundation. Although I have not practiced it on a regular basis, but that I think is immediately I can see the change when I start practicing it. It brings about a change.
Things that you do in your routine that you do it every day without fail.
I think one is just being with my kids and family. That really brings. I have two kids, a daughter, she's 7.5, and a son who's 3.
You're a new father.
Relatively
A new father.
Yeah, so that and just being with my family, my wife, my sister, I stay with my mother, and just extended family. That itself is very, very just warming enough that you have everybody around.
Very nice to know this perspective
Absolutely.
of wellness and family put together. Yes.
Because especially in the day of nuclear family, and I also feel, I'm sure all of us feel it that way, that the advantage that our kids have lost out on is the power of the joint family.
True.
Because there are multiple emotional anchorages that we had when we were growing up.
True.
Dad, mom, nahi, aunt is there, uncle is there, grandparents.
For the
are
longest time here,
Yeah.
my father and us, I mean, his other 3 brothers, we were in one house. So we grew up as almost 7, 8 siblings
big
together.
gang.
Yeah, big gang.
That's a huge advantage, actually.
We didn't realize how we were growing up. It was just so
Natural and
natural,
seamless, yeah.
and yeah, of course we miss that. So my generation and all my cousins' generation, we've had it for as long as we can have it. But this younger set of generations, my kids, my cousins' kids, we keep talking about this, that they will always miss this. We try and visit each other as frequently as possible, but it's very difficult, and you know how this place is.
Right.
You get into your set of things. So coming back to your question, you said what are the 3 things? So first is this, just your priorities. What are really your priorities? Yeah, that is
Family
key for
time,
me.
yeah.
And then with all my little bit of health, gymming, cricket, etc. There's some me time as well. So I think that also
Sports.
sports, yeah, helps. I think my wife will probably say, it's good. He goes out so that he's, calmer at home. And then I think food. I think we're very just careful about food.
Sattvic food.
I won't say sattvic, but vegetarian and
Consciously eating.
consciously. Yeah. We don't stuff ourselves. Once you're vegetarian, naturally, you brought about a certain change, and then we try and eat healthy and eat disciplined at a certain time. That really takes care of a lot of things. I've been here for 37 years. There was a time when, for the most of my years, 15 odd years or plus, our meals used to be at night, just because parents came at night. My father, my uncle, they all came at night. So dinner was 10:30, 11. Little did I realize what was happening. Post marriage also, I would wait for my father, so it'll still be 9, 9:30. Slowly, when I cut it down to, this is very, very core. We just cut it down, and I used to go home and eat at maybe 6:30, 7. It's a sea change. 180-degree change into how I was feeling the next day. What was the quality of my sleep? How I was feeling next day. So then I never went back to that. Even today, I think that's routine for, I don't know, maybe 10 odd years now. Go home and eat immediately, as soon as possible.
Little closer and towards the sunset, closer or only to the sunset, yeah.
Definitely.
Do you also think that wellness is helping you to be more productive at work the next day?
100%. Yeah.
It plays an important role?
What is inside of you is obviously going to impact the outside of you. What is most important is inside of you. Again, I'm talking about what I've only learned, nothing that I have discovered myself. But once you discover it, and once you realize, once you become aware of it, that is what it is. You take care of your inside, everything else outside is taken care of.
I think probably I'm asking this question, it might seem superfluous, since I think you've already kind of articulated it beautifully. Fitness first, performance next. Direction first, velocity next. What are your thoughts on that? When you're talking from a corporate standpoint, or a personal standpoint also.
Yeah, I would say definitely, your fitness, mental first, everything else next. And like you said, direction first, otherwise, you'll end up in some goddamn place.
You might have great velocity, but
what's the point of velocity if the direction is not right? Absolutely. Yeah.
What are your ways of deriving positive energy with the power of discipline? Since you're so disciplined already, how do you derive that kind of positive energy?
I think it just comes naturally. One thing we realized through so many different points in life, I think life, like I was saying, happens, you don't realize what messages you're subconsciously gathering. And once you come to a certain realization, then, the focus or the awareness is so streamlined because your priorities are very streamlined. Of course, you can always become a little bit superfluous. Things will start hazing. You'll start thinking about what next, what about this. You start getting stressed about a few things. But the moment you sit down and reflect, it naturally sort of takes the fog out of all things. You know what are your core priorities. Then everything else is momentary. You don't live by what will happen, and it's all about how best I can do in this particular situation. And with that, so any moment, I'm like this. I don't get. It's very cliche to say that, but this has come about in life. I don't know how. Maybe it's through all of this.
You're blessed.
Naturally.
You're blessed because a lot of people are finding that with everything.
There's nothing to find. You just have to give it a little bit of effort. You have to take out time for it. Whether it is going to an institution like this, seeking the blessings of a master, being disciplined about what is being told to you. Once you get that realization, it's like once you've crossed a bridge, you know how to cross it.
There's no looking back.
Then there's no looking back.
Believe in the process.
Yeah. You have to give yourself, commit, give you 100%. And anything that you do, you give you 100%. Otherwise, what's the point?
I think both you, Krishna and Richa, actually are boiling down to one word, which is my favorite word. So I'm taking the opportunity to kind of express it. It's a word called essentialism. Okay, and the narrative is separating the vital few from the trivial many.
Absolutely.
Okay, this, we are living in this republic of not enough.
Yeah.
Okay, republic of not enough, wherein we don't get the time to look up from our ledger of lack. I don't have this. I need to do more. I need to have more. So automatically, like you said, we are coming in our own way.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the script is different. You're trying to kind of, create a path which is, I mean, not even trodden or whatever it is something which, you should not be going that path. Okay, if you want to kind of bring out your true potential and live the most fulfilled life. Okay, there could be vanilla metrics, there could be societal um, flag posts or milestones that you may be going after, but I think deep within, you need something else. That is what I actually summarize, both of you, I
True.
think.
If I can add upon this, what you said, this not enough. Where does that come from? The way I think about it is because you look left and right, up and down, and everywhere around except for inside
Comparison,
you.
FOMO.
Yeah. Now, that comparative way of living itself is the start of all of the problems. You are never going to have enough. Anybody, I mean, again, this is all cliche in a sense, but which is so true. Anybody who's number one will always become number two and number one, and then you'll always be in that rat race or in some or the other sort of number game. But the moment you realize of what your real priorities are, that kind of really goes away. And this, as parents, because this is a discussion very ripe between my wife and I, and just my sisters, her kids. We are thinking about this. All boils down to how we got educated. The system of education today, unfortunately, is all comparative basis. Right from day one, have it or this will happen. Do this or that will happen. This person has done this, have you not done it? Better than this, lower than this, higher than this. That's just the conversation. You don't realize what you're telling
It's
the
not
child.
unconditional anymore.
No, whatever they are doing is always compared. And we sometimes don't realize we are selfishly doing it because it's at our convenience. Why don't you quickly have it? I'll give you a chocolate. So everything is being relative. If the child is hungry, it'll ask for it. It'll bite your hand and take your hand away. Don't force the child to have food, or don't compare them with what's happening around them. This person's their marks. We've gone through all of that, but today when I realize that's why you are having all these problems, because the end objective of that education was not really was not focusing on how this particular individual can do their best. That's not the end objective. The objective is, well, you need to earn and therefore you sit behind a desk, or you need to be comparatively better than everybody else in the job perspective and whatever have you.
Absolutely. You look at the terms used in the curriculum and in the school or university thing: standard, uniform, comply, conform. Okay, if you look at the terms itself, they're all retrogressive.
True.
Okay, there is something called the Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. Krishna is different from Richa, Richa is different from Varun, Varun is different from Suresh. Our aptitude, our outlook, mindsets are very, very different. Our passion following, desires are different, but we're asked to say, okay, SAT scores, you must get this, otherwise you won't get admitted to this, I mean, so in fact, I'll send you a different kind of thing, can we go to a new school is a question that responsible people and the citizenry should be asking of our education institutions.
Yeah.
Can we go to a new school? And I think it's an important thing, to be looking at.
So, what are your key points that you can attribute to first professional success, physical health, mental health? Let's start with professional success.
I think professional success, one is to have the right aptitude and approach towards your work. Give it all. I see a lot of people wanting to go a fast way and make success very quick. Associate no shortcut method. There's no shortcut method. If you ask success is, I don't know what success is today. If you ask me successful, I don't see that word. I don't see myself being successful so far yet. But there's no success parameter only now.
It's all relative.
It's all relative. Yeah. So yeah, just really put in your best, put in your 100% to whatever you're doing, whatever it is. I think that has really helped me. And then it's just the people around, who all given me opportunities. Because without that also,
Being grateful.
being very grateful. Yeah. On the health side of things, again, I think just discipline. I maintain my schedule. A lot of thanks to my wife and my children for letting me do that, because it's very difficult.
Tolerating.
Yeah, well, I'm not there for so long. Sometimes on weekends, most of the times now on weekends because of my matches, but kind of understanding that and letting me have that time. So a lot of benefit to my wife for that. And mental, I think, is just just everybody around and doing these practices as much as I can. That really brings about a lot of change. It just immediately, it's like that alignment scale for your awareness immediately balances it. And once you are balanced, everything is very clear. Once you have clarity, then you're just confident because everything is clear.
There are no cobwebs
Yeah, I
between the
think
ears.
people say you'll get clarity because once you're confident, but I think it's the other way around. If you're not clear, you cannot really be confident. So clarity is more important than anything else.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So summarizing it, one is discipline, routine, very important. Being with people and letting them be and letting yourself be is second. Third is giving your best shot. In whatever you do, that could be anything.
Definitely.
Smallest or the largest of things, anything, but 100%.
Yeah. And what has helped me is, because we were talking about education and all of this. So with my daughter, for example, for the last 4-5 years, the only message is you just do your best. Whatever you do your best. Even we don't care what happens, what the teacher says. If you tell me you've done your best, that's good enough for me. So one is I trust you with whatever you say, and I don't need anybody else to say that this is what is right or wrong. If you tell me this is what it is, I'll first trust you. You tell me you've done your best, that's more than enough. Now, when that will happen and when it'll hit her is a separate matter. But in her own way of growing up, there's nothing more important than for that moment trying your best. If it doesn't happen, that's okay.
So no external validations required. Give it your best shot, look inside and
But you know whether you've given your best shot or not.
Yes.
So that is most important. Yeah.
So validating
There's no
that
fooling yourself.
instead of external validation.
Yes.
I think at a young age, what you're actually priming them for is a mature way of introspecting. Okay, you're not looking at okay, I'm convinced that I did my best. Okay, and that actually carries through into the later mature years as well. I think that's a great philosophy to actually inculcate. I know this might be a little bit of a delicate ice, Krishna, but considering that capital, equity, BFSS space, finances, etc., is all about a lot is about analysis, data, predictive, progressive, whatever it is, and so going by the fact that you're in this particular ecosystem, are you a person who would like to go by gut instinct, or you still follow you excel at the Excel sheet?
It's a very good question because this question gets asked by all clients. So, for example, when you say analysis and therefore the gut, so when you're valuing, I always tell my clients valuation is more art than a science. So there is a certain science behind it, but after a point, there's a lot of experience and there's a lot of subjectivism that happens because that cannot be captured just by pure numbers. I mean, maybe at some point you will have a lot more capturing of data and AI and whatever,
Right.
but it's still going to be very subjective and there's a lot of art around it, which is just not about just the numbers, but how something is presented.
Art as well.
Yeah, because beauty lies in the eye of the beholder. So no matter how, however you present it and whatever the number is, it may be good for you, but it may not be good for her. So then the number is of no relevance. So it's all in your eyes. And how do we make sure that what we are presenting is likable by you also and likable by you? So I need to understand what you like and what you like, and whether I can, frame it in that particular fashion. Of course, there is no lying around, or no, but the point is you have to understand those perspectives. Till then, it'll just be analysis. What's the story behind it? And that story has to appeal to you and has to appeal to you also.
Right. All the key stakeholders in the value chain. Yeah. Absolutely.
So coming from gut instinct, what do you do for your gut health, specifically to keep your gut clean? Some grandmom hacks or home remedies or anything that you do specifically ke my system remains clean?
So, one is water.
Hydration.
Yeah. At least, difficult, but maintain at least 3 to 4 liters a day.
Consciously reminding yourself to keep having water.
Constantly. I think that plays a big part, just overall inner health. And then the mix of food that we have. So, for example, I do very, very light breakfast, if at all. Otherwise, lunch is, so food, we try and have 50% raw, 50% cooked food. And that kind of really balances it out.
So you believe in the thought of food being medicine?
100%.
You believe?
Like I said, whatever's inside, so again, this is something that Sadhguru has said, and everything, it's just again scientific. The whole body is nothing but food, no? It's just made up of food. If you had not eaten anything, I would be much thinner. If I eat too much, I'll become much fatter. So it's all food. So what you eat is what you become.
Krishna, one curveball, if you may permit me. You know, all of us have failings and, insults or whatever the situation would be, as the world would seem it. Anything that can be what society deems a failure that you've learned from and which has helped you enhance yourself.
See, failure, again, people will say this, but I've experienced this, that's why I can say it. So failures will come and go. Failures of not performing well. I used to be a huge enthusiast in sports, but couldn't do what I wanted to. So in a way, I can call it failure. Doing my chartered accountancy, having failed maybe multiple times at it, having never failed in my academics, so to speak. So that was first failure, and that was really shameful. You're like, oh my God, this is not me. And then again failing, and then again failing. So it was people give up. Anything can happen, but somehow I think like I was saying, what got inculcated into us from a very young age, and just the way our environment was. Thank God we never went into any other direction. At least I never went into those kind of directions. Okay, this has happened. We give it another shot. And we have to do it. If not now, later. So it'll happen, and it did happen. I think the more subtle aspects are about how I am and how better I can be. I think that's in a way constant failure on a daily basis. So if you figure out I could have done this better, and that's failure. So how can you do this better? Maybe my dealings with a colleague of mine, for example. I mean, this is as relevant, So a couple of days ago, it could have been much better. Went in a different direction, but then the awareness is there. That's good enough. You take care next time, and that's it. Matter's over. How far can you live in the past? There's a beautiful picture. I don't know who the artist is, where you have or it's a statue actually, where you have a human body with a large head rolling behind, saying the only thing that stops you from going forward is your own head. So the larger it is, the slower you are.
So space between your ears is the most important.
So the larger this is, whether with information or whatever, the slower you are.
Right, absolutely. But you beautifully summarize the fact that as an individual, he brings in oodles of tenacity and resilience. Because not very many people have that courage, the wherewithal to kind of get up, go again, get up, go again, get up, go again, because I think those are some of the soft skills that organizations need to be looking at. In fact, I'm told that NASA now looks at what is the kind of number of attempts people have made to be part of the journey to the moon or the orbit, and I was recently reading somebody and he mentioned I applied 13 times. And then they changed the metric and the judging rubric of evaluating candidates.
Wow.
Simply because look at the tenacity, perseverance. Sure. He's not the one who's going to give up on anything. Okay, he believes in himself and he's going to come back. He's not faulting the system or anything of that sort. So obviously you don't seem to be like all pen and paper, and there is a lot of outdoor as well. In your life,
Oh,
and
100%.
what do you learn from the fact that there are so many, because we have become so indoorsy in every sense of the term, metaphorically and figuratively and literally. I mean, the fact that you do so much of sports, you go out and kind of, what are the kind of things that you bring back into your professional life?
Yeah. I think one thing is teamwork. No matter who you are, where you are, how you are, in a sport, and especially when you are new, and a lot of us are new, not everybody knows everybody. So you really have to figure out how to work with each other. It's always going to be very difficult in the first instance. You don't know anybody, and you're trying to find your own place, figure out what to do, what not to do. But once you gel well, and then you figure out what's your strength and your weakness, and everybody else realizes. I think that process is very apt to any process in life, whether it's in the corporate world or dealing at home. So that is what I bring about. Sports has really kind of brought back that into me, that everybody is different, and no matter what, things will come around. The first team, okay, this is your first match. You've got 10 matches to play with the same team. The second is going to be different. Third is different. By the fourth, you're all gelling well, and then you probably can do better because now you all know each other better and can rely on each other's strengths and weaknesses, understand that,
Learning on the go.
learning on the go.
So, with the high pressure job that you've got and you're involved with so many activities at senior levels, do you think social work and philanthropy and giving back to the society helps in a way?
See, high pressure job is a term used very, very loosely. I think is very relative, and it's a very hyped up term. And the reason I say that is, in my initial years of my career, when I just started working, I was working in Bombay, and then I came here, worked here professionally in one of the big fours. So those 6 years were, I would say, pressure, 14, 16, 18 hours. At that time, the body can support it and you do it and you think, well, this is what it is. This is how this job is going to be and life is going to be. And then I wanted to move into a different stream. So I joined this company here. And, in our sort of finance world, the moment you move out of some kind of consulting into an investment banking in those days, that means, oh, there's no life. It's 24 hours, maybe 25 hours, if it can be. So I come here, my first week, and I'm still trying to figure myself out because I still don't know how this thing works. I was doing bits and pieces and now I'm going to do the whole piece. So 6 o'clock and my chairman walks out and he's like, guys, what are you doing? Please go home. You don't have a life. And that just stayed with me. I thought, okay, maybe, today's in a good mood. For a whole week, this is what happened. For a whole month, few months, this is how he was. And I couldn't understand how this place functions. But that brought about this whole awareness that there's nothing that requires that kind of stress. We are such a lean team and we keep thinking maybe we need more people, but we don't. You don't take the pressure. You just figure out how to do your work better, and irrespective of the number of hours. So what defines high pressure? Is it the number of hours? Is it the amount of typing that you need to do at a certain point in time? Number of places you need to be? That's really not pressure, because ultimately it's all about how you are at that time. If you are at ease, even if I have to, do 10 meetings a day, if I'm at ease, okay, maybe I might be late, but doesn't mean I have to be pressured. I just have to be careful, maybe not keep 10 meetings next time. But that's all about it. Or if I have to have a certain deliverable, well, you have this time, and if it's not time, you talk to people. Everybody is reasonable, so things work around. Pressure is what you create. After there is no pressure creating from anywhere. There's always a conversation, and things always come about. In the last maybe 8-10 years here, I have not had pressure, neither from me, and I hope my team also says the same thing. But I don't see that pressure here. You have to just get things done, and that's it. If everybody gives their effort 100%, like I'm saying, then never is a pressure. We have enough time to get things done.
Yeah, there is a beautiful saying, that and it came up during the COVID as well. Working is not productivity.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people who work till God knows 11 in the night, 12 in the night. Obviously, they compromise on sleep, family time, whatever they can do. Their passion could be sports or books or music or whatever it is. All that is being compromised, and the next day she or he is coming. Actually, she comes as a liability then, or he comes as a liability, simply because all the unfulfilled things, it is festering somewhere, right? It is bothering you. The space between the ears, like you said earlier, the clarity gets affected. You need to have a deep
That
over.
is true.
All of that, So I think, I think that's beautifully put. It's so relative, and we again come in our own way, I feel.
And all of these things are interrelated. You take care of your food, you take care of your health. Your sleep is a requirement of a certain level of sleep is this many hours is gone.
It's individual.
Yeah, and the more I've seen my sister, my brother-in-law, not wanting more than 4-5 hours of sleep because they're doing so much of sadhana, a lot of meditation. It just takes away the requirement. My brother-in-law started looking almost 4-5 years younger with the kind of sadhana he was doing every day, 2.5 hours. It was insane. It was magical, to say.
So you've seen that actually happen.
Yeah.
From close quarters.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, that all gets taken care of if you manage yourself well. It's all about managing yourself well. Then everything else is managed well. You are haphazard, you are not clear, then you become a pressure for somebody and pressure for yourself also. But if you are able to manage yourself, then no matter what the chaos around you is, you can walk very nicely and easily, there's chaos happening, but you don't have to be chaotic. You can keep your cool and just walk around. And this, like, you were talking about pressure. Now, of course, there are things that I may not know. So that is one other thing, realizing that I don't know everything, and I probably not know much as well. I've got 3 colleagues here. Each one of them is very different in their style and work, and there's so much to learn from them. They're just so very different, and I've had churns of people over these years. So initially it used to be, teams are changing, and how do you find and replace people, and how do you gel well. But now that doesn't bother at all, and anybody who comes in is, you are so balanced that it doesn't matter. Work will get done, this person or the other person, whether I am there or not. So it's very, very relative then.
Absolutely.
You are coming with all your, with all the inputs that you've given us today, I feel that your top priority is being clear. Having clarity in each sphere of your life is very important. Everything falls down in place.
100%.
So having that clear approach is mandatory.
True. So I think before we bring the curtain down on this very engaging conversation, if you permit me a little bit of tongue-in-cheek question. So given, again, perceivably, so we are also ignorant, right? What that industry is all about. Perceivably, it is all about like she said, high stress or pressure or whatever it is. And, but you're so much of a contrarian, because given the space that you are, you always sport a smile on your face. Okay. Sorry, but perceivably, you're not supposed to have a smile all the time. Because whatever it is, So congratulations on that, and for inspiring a lot of other people, and for simplifying what we seem to be making far too complicated.
That is true.
Right? That's
everything and anything, we make it far too complicated than it actually is.
So simply put,
absolutely.
No mental health issue, no physical health issue, no issue at all. You have to clear your own issues and everything is fine.
Of course, if you need help, take help. But after that, because, if you're in a certain state, yes, you might need a hand to just pull you out.
And being okay with that.
Yeah.
Being okay with
the acceptance
that,
has to be there.
Unless the client wants to do a public issue, then it's a different thing. So on that little lighter note, thank you so much, Krishna, for doing this. Thank you so much. And I'm sure our audience will find it extremely inspiring, and also follow, at least in bit, some of the footsteps that you've been working on. Thank you so much. Take care. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.